Good afternoon and welcome back to Brands Hatch for the final GB3 race of the weekend. Now, it's been a difficult and very emotional few days in the United Kingdom and around the world after the sad passing of Queen Elizabeth II, and we'd like to pass our condolences on to the whole of the royal family. And I know, Piers, that a lot of the drivers and a lot of the teams have been marking and paying their respects in their own special way. Yeah, it's great to see a lot of the cars have got their the black bands on the nose of the car. A few of the drivers have got black armbands on because it's showing, the respect, because the Queen has done a lot for this country, and it's good to show. We also had the 1 or the 2 minute silence earlier on today. And the Queen, obviously a huge fan of all kinds of sport, including motorsports. And earlier on, the moment was marked with a 2 minute silence here on the start-finish straight, and a huge round of applause broke out. Let's see how that went down. A very special moment there, marked earlier on here at Brands Hatch. Now, looking at the standings in the GB3 Championship, everything's getting very exciting with one round of the championship left to go at Donington Park. Of course, we do have one race that's coming up. And the big news is that Luke Browning has now overtaken Yoel Granvus into the lead of the championship. He said to us earlier he wants to go into that final round of Donington as the leader. Do you think, some drivers would prefer to be chasing because then the more pressure is on the other driver?
It's a really difficult one because it's always nice to be in a position of chasing because you feel like the pressure's off, and it kind of showed a little bit with Browning this year, as quite often more than not sometimes been behind, and he's been racing hard in that last race. We're on the outside of Granvus at Druids, acting as if his pressure's off, but ultimately you want as much of a points buffer because ultimately points win prizes, as we know, and the driver with the most points at the end of the year will be the champion, and you'd rather go in with the biggest gap because if it comes down to one position in the final race, if you've got the buffer at the start of the race, then that could be a championship position. So psychologically, maybe you might think it's easier to come from behind, but at the same time, it's points are as important.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Good. I think I would prefer to be chasing personally, but I'm not a racing driver, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's look at the standings then. So Luke Browning in the high-tech car has taken over the lead with 416 points. So he's got a very tiny gap, 1.5 points it is over Yoel Granvus. 414.5. It's even smaller, that gap, than we thought it was, Piers. Yeah. In third, Callum Voisin, a very, very talented driver who's starting quite far back this weekend. Didn't get a good qualifying in, what with a couple of incidents he had. He's almost cementing his position as the third place driver. 312 from Tom Leben, who's obviously won 3 races, including that race earlier on today. 294.5 with Roberto Farrier, a very consistent driver, the Brazilian. 289.5 points for him. He's in 5th. And Matthew Rees has made some huge ground actually after this 2 double podiums, including 1 victory this weekend. 271.5 points. He is a solid 6th place in the Drivers' Championship. But we've talked about the race quite a lot that we've just had then. So let's see the highlights of the second race of the weekend in the GB3 Championship here at Flack.
Race 2 of the weekend got underway with a great start from Tom Leben. Another good one from Luke Browning as well, from 4th position on the grid. He'd race his way around the outside of his championship rival in Yoel Granvus, and the race up the hill towards the second corner. Matthew Rees also attacking for the race lead. Tom Leben would hang on to that, but the championship rivals were getting into feisty fisticuffs behind as they'd be side by side down towards Graham Hill Bend. Tom Leben with the inside line would hang on to the race lead. Luke Browning with the inside line would hang on to 3rd position, whilst it all got a little bit choked up going through Graham Hill. Side by side, plenty coming through the Druids corner, with James Headley and Tommy Smith going side by side. Tommy Smith holding the advantage on that, moving his way just outside of the top 10 with the 12th place running at that point in the race. And then Javier Segura, another big moment for him, retirement in the previous race. got close to it that time. David Morales with a bit of a moment coming up through the penultimate corner, sorry, third corner at Graham Hill Bend, and managed to get himself back onto the road whilst losing about 6 or 7 positions inside the top 10, dropped down to 14th. And Tom Leben would come through the final corner to cross the line as a victor once again for the 3rd time in his GB3 career, closely followed by the championship rival of Luke Browning and then Matthew Rees as well. A super performance for Tom Leben, taking yet another victory and really marching up to the top 10.
Well, I'm here at the Chris Dipman Racing awning with Mackenzie Cresswell. Mackenzie, tell us about your weekend so far.
I've had better weekends. In qualifying, just couldn't quite get a good lap in due to traffic. The dirty air really affects your lap round here, so just couldn't quite find the space and put a good lap in. But I made a few moves in the races, which is always positive. Made a mistake in race 1, but managed to make up a place in race 2. So overall, it's not too bad. Obviously, we were hoping for more, given that I did quite well around here last year. But yes, we're still fighting. We've got one more race to go, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, we saw you fighting away in race 2 this morning. You were getting stuck in, and why don't you tell us about the unique challenge here at Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit?
Yeah, there's nowhere like it in the world. It's my favourite track. It's undulating, it's fast, it's challenging, it's got everything. Yeah, it's by far my favourite, and it's one that I think most drivers like. It's not the best for racing, but to do a lap around, I don't think there's anywhere in the world that I'd rather drive.
That's amazing, and I hear that you've had quite a lot of experience in America. You like American stuff. Why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, well, I lived in America for 8 years. I moved out there when I was 4 and moved back to England when I was 12. So I spent most of my life in Texas, Austin, Texas. So I've been sort of raised around the American system. I go to an American school. I watch American racing, American food, American TV, all of it. I've got a British accent. Both my parents are British, but I consider myself half American because that's where I've spent most of my life, and that's where I want to race. I'm looking at moving over there hopefully soon. I'm probably going to go to university there, so I'm looking at sort of transitioning back into the American way of lifestyle. But yes, it's a nice place. I really enjoy being there. I wish I could spend more time there, but it's a little bit tricky with the racing schedule. But yes, really nice place.
Well, it's great to hear that you've got some inspirations to race in America. They've got some great series over there. But thanks very much. It's great to chat to you. Hopefully, good luck in race 3.
Thank you.
And yeah, we're going to have a look on board. We mentioned the unique challenge here at Brands GP. Let's have a look at an on-board lap. Let's ride on board our championship leader at the Fortec car, number 50, Yoel Granvus. Completely committed to Paddock Hill Bend. On the power so early, the car compresses at the bottom. Pick your braking point for Druids Bend, the hairpin. It goes flat to the apex, trying to get in there, trying to get to the apex, just missed it slightly, but it doesn't hamper his lap too much. Over to the right-hand side to open up Graham Hill Bend, a tricky corner. Slides away on the exit, you have to watch the track limits on the exit there. Now we're going towards Surtees, a very technical corner. Very wide entry to get a late apex for a great exit. Up the long straight towards Hawthorne's corner. Just a moment to breathe now. Probably the only point on the circuit where you can relax. We go down. Pilgrim's Drop underneath the bridge. Car once again compresses as we prepare ourselves to fully commit to Hawthorne's corner. Just down 1 gear, almost flat out. Use all the road on the exit, but no more. Brake down 1 gear for this corner, which is completely committed. Don't go wide on the exit because the car will bottom out and take you straight into the barriers. Now we have Sheen. Again, another full commitment, completely blind. Get on the power nice and early, roll the minimum speed in there, and then the banked corner here left to try and open up the last sector of the lap. Trying to keep it to the left-hand side. You go under the bridge. The final corner, completely committed. Don't quite make the apex, but it doesn't seem to hamper our minimum speed, which is the most important thing as we round out this less than 1 minute 20 lap of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit.
Well, I've joined Piers over at the Chris Dipman Racing Garage, and I found some fans, and you guys have been hanging around here getting autographs. So just first of all, introduce yourselves.
I'm Shannon. And I'm Jasmine.
Now, you've got your programs here, and I believe that, Shannon, you finished getting signatures from your program because you came to Silverstone. And how are you getting on?
About halfway done.
Okay, well, who else do you need?
A lot.
Quite a lot. We'll have to probably help you. You got the GOAT Tommy Smith in there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Got that one. Okay, good. Well, it's nice to know that you've had so much access. I mean, Piers were talking earlier about how coming to these race weekends mean you can come and actually hang out with the drivers, and they're all very accessible. In terms of your favourite drivers, who's your favourite driver?
It's got to be Nick Jilks and Brandon Oxley.
Okay, I have to ask you why.
He's just really funny and nice. So it's good that he's racing as well, that he's Thai and English like me. so
Yeah.
it's good representation.
Yeah, there's a lot of international drivers, isn't there, Piers, on the grid? We've got Canadians, I'm going to forget some here. We've got Canadians, we've got Americans, we've got Thai, Spanish, we've got Brazilian, Roberto Farrier. I'm sure there's probably more.
I'm sure there's more. We can catch them up on the grid.
We'll think of them. And how was your race weekend, and how's your experience been so far here at Brands Hatch?
It's been really good. It's been a good laugh, hasn't it? It's been really good. Having to spend it with my best friend as well.
Oh, look at that.
That's very wholesome.
I feel like I can't say anything more because I'll probably just ruin that special moment. Thanks for chatting to us, girls. Hope you get the rest of your autographs there. Me and Piers have got to do some work now, so we've seen a hot lap around the track. But let's just remind ourselves about the whole track here at Brands Hatch as we're racing at the full circuit this weekend. It's a very special moment because, as we mentioned many times, we don't always get to race around the full circuit here. So let's take a look at the Brands Hatch circuit before we go and see the cars in assembly.
Well, to West Kingsdown in Kent we head, and to Brands Hatch for the penultimate race weekend of the season. What a fantastic circuit it is. Such a historic one, having been run in the Indy layout since the early 30s. It's been run time and time again, backwards, forwards, when it was dirt. It's been an incredible venue for motorsport inside the United Kingdom with the Grand Prix loop, which will be running this weekend. It is one for the brave. So many great corners around here when you come through Paddock Hill up towards Druids. That entire Grand Prix loop with Hawthorns, Westfield and Sheen Curve up towards Stirlings. It is a track which requires bravery, it requires commitment, and it requires absolutely no fear.
Well, thank you very much, Lewis. This is a track I've driven loads of times on. Oh, my microphone's not working, apologies. This is a track I've driven many times before in games, and I know you've driven loads of times, Piers, when you've actually been a driver. And I mean, these drivers love this track. We've been chatting to the drivers in between the races, and you know, it's one of their favourites. And I know they were saying early in the season that this is the one they were looking forward to. Yeah,
it's a real driver's circuit. We've heard it from some of the other drivers that it's a proper driver's track. You have to get fully stuck in. You have to really hustle the car around here, over the curves, over the lumps and bumps. It's really flowing, especially that middle sector we've spoken about.
Yeah.
Real driver's track. Everyone loves it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's look at who's on pole. It's Marcus Flack, and we Marcus Flack, we saw on the podium, that was back at Silverstone now.
It was, yep.
So we know he's got it in
Race
him.
win.
Absolutely, we know he's got it in him in the Douglas Motorsports car. So if you're looking out for Marcus, obviously we'll be starting in first place. He's the blue Douglas Motorsports car, number 11. Behind him, Zach Taylor, who we sort of touched upon a little bit before. He's moved teams. This is his first weekend with Chris Dittman Racing, so it's going to be interesting to see. You know, now he's up there in this reverse grid race. Can he hold on to that place? Can he keep the pace with Brandon Oxley, someone who is his teammate but also knows his car inside out? He's been with the team all year. Can he hold Brandon Oxley off? And you might think that Brandon Oxley has some, you know, better understanding of that car and a bit more pace, perhaps.
Yeah, just looking at the drivers around in the top sort of 3 or 4 or 5 grid positions, Oxley's probably the most experienced driver in the front few. He's got the experience, he's raced here before, he knows the team, so I think if he gets a good start and potentially makes if he makes 2 positions off the start, then I think he'll be away, but if he makes 1 position, then he could be challenging for the lead. And I think it's a hard call. I think Flack's shown that he can win. It's all about the start. It very much depends on how everyone gets around the first 2 corners.
Yeah, absolutely. If we just look over my right shoulder here, Kean Shields, number 6 for High Tech, and also Tommy Smith next to him in the other Douglas Motorsports car at the front of the grid here with a nice tribute to the Queen on the front there. Tommy Smith has his own fan club. I know there'll be a lot of people rooting for Tommy Smith, both in Australia and here in the UK. A lot of people watching back home. Tommy the Tank. And then in 6th place, Nick Jilks, a man that we've spoken about a lot. He was actually meant to be on pole position but served that 5 grid penalty. So he's going to be absolutely livid that he is not leading these cars out, because I think he's found it very disappointing. And here is the shot we get before every race that involves the Jilks. It's Megan Jilks giving Nick Jilks the last minute words of encouragement there. Yeah. And I can see that Nick's got some new tyres on the left-hand side.
4 new tyres.
4 new tyres.
Yeah, Nick has decided to save all of his new tyres for the final race. He thinks it's his best chance of a good result this weekend. We've spoken to him a few times. He's been disappointed with the pace. He's not had the testing and not had the experience around here, and he's trying to make the most of it with his highest grid position, which is this third race reverse grid.
Yeah, so he's starting 6th, and Roberto Farrier in the blue Carling car, number 7, starting 7th. Roberto Farrier, someone that we normally see a little bit further up the grid in the normal races, the first 2 races of the weekend. So he's really struggled this weekend.
Yeah, he struggled in qualifying. He's shown good pace in testing, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, didn't get a lap together. We know, we've heard from a couple of the other drivers as well, that there's been a bit of traffic in qualifying, trying to find a space to make sure you can get a lap that's uninterrupted, while also not getting any dirty air as well is very important. I think we're about to go, so I'm going to get out of the way.
You get out of the way. I'm going to just walk over here in our designated spot where we don't get run over as we watch the cars go out now. And Yeah, we were going to mention James Headley as well in JHR Development's car. He's Matthew Rees's teammate. Matthew Rees won that first race, came on the podium in that second race. He's up there as well, and we know that he's a driver that, you know, can stay up there if he gets the opportunity. So he'll be looking to make up places before the first few corners. Maybe he can get a couple, would be great for him, and see if he can challenge the likes of Nick Jilks. You know, getting past Roberto Farrier is going to be quite difficult for him, I would imagine, especially he's got David Morales behind him, who's shown that he's an exceptional driver. We can absolutely see that he is the star of the future himself. And as we see the cars go out here, we're starting to get to the drivers that we've seen a lot more of this weekend. John Bennett in the black and yellow Elite Motorsports car there. Luke Browning, championship leader number 5, just going past the gates there in the silver car with his rival for the title, Yoel Granvus, behind number 50. Matthew Rees and Tom Leben lead us out there, and it's time to go to the grid with the commentary team of Piers Pryor, who should be there soon, and Lewis McGlade.
It does take Piers a little while to get to the commentary again. It is a fair run. There is Zach Taylor himself in the in a new livery for him this weekend, of course, being the red, yellow and black of Chris Dittman Racing. He's behind his teammate of Brandon Oxley. And then starting from pole position, it's Marcus Flack. A few struggles on the results this round, 17th and 20th thus far. I mean, it's going to be a tricky one. It's a hard circuit to overtake at. He did run away in the Silverstone race. He might have a bit of a harder effort this time. Chris Dittman Racing have been pretty fast. Watch out for Brandon Oxley there. A couple of cars a bit further back. Tommy Smith's been really good at working up some results this weekend. 13th and 11th. Going ahead in both races. Same with Nick Jilks as well as alongside on that third row. And they'll get ready to do the formation lap. You can see even the angle that Kean Shields has got on the right-hand side. Of course, Kean Shields himself being a race winner earlier on in the season, although we haven't seen him on the podium since the second race weekend of the season at Silverstone when he won in the reverse grid race. He's had a few top 10s. They did very well at Spa. We'll have to see if we can see anything else out of them on that front as well, of course. Quite a few race winners in the GB3 Championship, including that man there, including both of his teammates, of course. Max Esterson having taken a victory earlier on in the season at Donington Park, and Tommy Smith being classified as the race winner in the third race at Spa as well. So, you know, they've kind of worked their way up the order. We've seen the blue of Douglas Motorsports at the front a fair few times in the GB3 Championship of 2022. We'll see them get onto the formation lap in a couple of moments before they get ready for the race. There they go. Curious to see who's going to win this race. We know the reverse grid races are big, especially for the championship. As we focus on those that are going to win, we must focus on those that could win the championship as well. Won't be sorted this round for sure, with just 1.5 points between Luke Browning and Yoel Granvus. But remember, it's 20 points for a race victory, but the important bit for the championship battle is that there is 1 point gained for every position gained in the race comparatively to the starting position. So if you start 20th and you finish first, well, you've gained 19 positions. So that means that it's 20 points for the race win plus 19 positions gained, which means 19 points. So that means you get 39 points for the race weekend. So we'll have to wait and see how much Luke Browning and Yoel Granvus can gain. Statistically speaking, Yoel Granvus is better in the reverse grid races than Luke Browning. We've seen that a few times this season. It's how he got involved in the championship fight, and it's very curious to see, is that going to be the case today?
Could be interesting. Although you say Yoel Granvus is better statistically in the reverse grid races. He did excellently. So go on, you go first. Yeah,
we'll go with the grid order, because we can see that Marcus Flack starting for pole position with Brandon Oxley alongside on that front row. Marcus Flack, the race winner, of course, at the previous round of the season at Silverstone. Let's see if he can do it again. Zach Taylor starts from third. Kean Shields in fourth. He took an aggressive start to the dummy grid there. We'll see if we do so once again. Tommy Smith and Nick Jilks, watch out for this row. The two of those very, very fast indeed this weekend. A bit disappointed in qualifying. They showed some great pace in the race. Roberto Farrier in 7th position. He's dropped off the fight a little bit for third in the championship. He starts alongside James Headley, Mackenzie Cresswell and David Morales. Morales having a few issues in the previous race, going a little bit wide at Graham Hill Bend. Javier Segura and Bryce Aaron, 11th and 12th position. Segura's had a few moments himself. He's been off in both of the previous races here at Brands Hatch. Alex Connor and Max Esterson, another driver who really struggled in the previous race. Esterson dropping back. He qualified inside the top 10, dropped back to 18th position. Nico Christodoulou, who's had a couple of top 5s or top 10s rather this weekend, including a top 5 in the first race, and John Bennett, who's had some great form with qualifying this weekend. Then it's the championship row. Luke Browning and Joel Granvus, 17th and 18th, 1.5 points between the two of them before we get to Matthew Rees and Tom Leben. And then two drivers who've got used to starting at the back of the grid in this round after issues in qualifying. Callum Voisin started 21st in all 3 of the races this weekend, and Mikael Grumfig in 22nd. Back to you, Piers Pryor.
Yeah, we were just mentioning about the reverse grid, and it's been interesting to see how the drivers have approached it differently. Joel Granvus, statistically the best driver in the reverse grid races, owing largely to those positions he made up at Silverstone last time out, having the 3rd podium. That was an amazing race. However, those statistics are slightly skewed by Luke Browning's retirement in race 3 at the first round of the series at Alton Park. So he didn't have any opportunity to make up positions in that race because he was unfortunately came together with Tom Leben. As we can see, Brandon Oxley, or Zach Taylor, with some big slides getting the rear tyre temperatures up. So yeah, I think they've actually been pretty even. Luke Browning has generally been the more aggressive driver in traffic this year, paying off some races, but also potentially owing to that mistake he had in race 3 of the year, which then has hampered him slightly. So we know these drivers can all race, especially the ones at the front. They've got the racecraft, they've got the speed. They're all very, very good. It's going to be coming down to these final 4 races of the year. As we see a small look up from number 42, blue car there, Max Exerson. So all trying to try. Who's going to win?
Who's winning?
I think Oxley, if he can get past one of the drivers on the first corner, I think Oxley will have it. But it all depends about the start.
Wow.
Yeah, I reckon it's Oxley's my call. If I was going to pick a name, it has to be Oxley.
I'm going for a bit of a gamble. I'm going to go for Tommy Smith, actually. Why not? We'll see what's going to happen as we go to the race start. Round 21 of the season as we get ready. Oh, it's a jump start from Marcus Flack straight away. That is done. That is dealt with. Brandon Oxley will take over what is second position. Kean Shields with a great start. He'll try and attack. They're nearly in contact between the two teammates for Chris Dittman Racing as they head their way through Paddock Hill. It was a long hold on the start, but that'll be a slam dunk drive-through penalty as Zach Taylor's dropped back behind Kean Shields. Roberto Farrier straight around the outside. What a great start from him. Javier Segura out very wide as well, down to the inside as we get down towards Graham Hill Bend. Roberto Farrier is centred in. He's got a bit of side-by-side as we head down towards Surtees. We'll see if there's been a position gain. I think Roberto Farrier's not been able to get past.
Roberto Farrier threw out the inside very lane to Graham Hill Bend and managed to pull out just at the last moment because he was going to cause contact. Oh, Tommy Smith nearly going wide. You cursed him there with the prediction for the race.
I don't believe in the commentator's curse, but that was about as close as you're going to get. Wow, going very wide as Surtees, dropping back behind even Alex Connor, who's had a great start as well. He's had great pace this weekend. As we've got, that will be Callum Voisin in contact. Oh, that'll be a big one. That'll be a big shunt with Max Esterson. The two of them off, coming up towards Hawthorns. That'll be a big one. I'm always going to guarantee that'll be a safety car because that was a pretty hefty impact. We'll see as they come round though to continue in the race. But yes, a very big moment there.
I really hope both those drivers are okay because that's a very, very fast part of the circuit. That would be a big impact. We didn't see the impact of the trees blocking our view there. I assume the safety car will come up, potentially a red flag with 2 cars stricken there, a very dangerous point in the circuit. Hard to extract cars from the gravel there because there's not really much access around the back of the circuit. But Marcus Flack leads for now before his penalty, which will almost certainly come because he quite clearly jumped the start. Really unfortunate for him. Yeah, safety car. I can see the guys flashing their rain lights, so that looks like a safety car for now, unless it's...
Still not come through on live. There we go. We've got it on screen. We've not had it come through on live timing, though, but definitely has come out. Safety car, I don't think that is a shock to anyone around there. That was a pretty hefty impact again. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yes. For now, all we can do is speculate from what we've seen. We won't see replays until, of course, we know both drivers are okay, because that is a big shunt. We really do hope the safety standards in this GB3 Championship are super high. The tubs are completely carbon, safety cell. They've got all the up-to-date, completely homologated. You've got the halo on these cars, and I'm sure that all those measures that they're both Motorsport Vision, Motorsport UK, and the FIA all put in place will help those drivers walk away from that impact. We hope, but of course we know motorsport is dangerous. But yeah, I think looked like Voisin was up the inside all the way. I think they touched wheels. Eston, of course, trying to squeeze him as much as he can to try and maintain that position after not a great start from Eston, but. Yeah, really unfortunate to see those guys end the race. So we can see our championship protagonist there, Joel Granvus, has made a couple of places, but not as much progress as he would have liked.
Yeah, well, again, we'll focus on what's happened between, again, Max Esterson and Callum Voisin in due course. We'll try and update you on the things that's happening in the race. Joel Granvus has gained 5 positions in this race, and Luke Browning has not.
Yeah, Yoel Granvus actually had
17th.
Yeah, he's actually had the best start. Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you there, Lewis.
That's right.
The best start of anyone at the back of the grid was Yoel Granvus. It'd be interesting to see maybe a replay. Here we go. So let's have a look on board. Let's have a look at the replay here of the contact going into Hawthorne's corner. Again, the fastest part of the circuit, 6th gear, just down 1 gear. You can see up the inside. Maybe Essen didn't see him though. He definitely saw him there, but then that is a big accident. You can see those soft foam barriers that go up against the Armco to reduce the impact. Of course, lots of safety features around this circuit.
Yeah, I mean, it is a brutal circuit. It is a circuit that does sometimes have a couple of larger incidents in because of how fast it is, and so there's so much safety over the top. And we are getting word in our ear, both drivers, Callum Voisin and Max Esterson, are both out of the car. Normally it's a good case of when we say the replay, normally we've had that confirmed, so thankfully we are getting that in here, both out of the car.
That's the main thing, that's what we all wanted to hear, that both drivers are largely okay. I'm sure they'll get checked over at the medical centre after that big impact, but glad to hear they're both okay, because as much as we love racing, we also want to make sure that everyone is safe and goes home in the same condition, if not better than they arrived.
Yeah, there is no such thing as something being too safe. There is James Headley in the pit lane, by the way. I did wonder which one of the JHR Developments car it was in the pit lane. And obviously, as we know with these races, as soon as the safety car comes out, because how tight it is on time and laps, this will now become a timed race, as far as I'm aware, just because it'll be a little bit too tight on the lap. So there will be about 15.5 minutes left to go. We'll see when we get back race again as to roughly how long that will be. Again, you can never be too safe with racing. It is what it is. Thankfully, as soon as you get extracted from the car, you've got some of the best medical staff that you'll basically ever meet in your life. Yep. Instantly there to meet.
Yeah, I was chatting to John actually just off camera before we started this, and I was saying that he was asking me just off camera, saying do you guys race, all you racing drivers, do you drive fast off on the roads? And I was like, no, we generally, from all the racing drivers I know, generally drive pretty safely on the road, because we know that the stakes on the road are much higher than a racetrack. Because at a racetrack, yes, we do incredible speed, yes, it's wheel-to-wheel racing, yes, there's a chance of a crash. However, we know that the safety measures are there. You know that you've got an ambulance waiting for you. You know that everything on the circuit is safe. As safe as it can be if you do have an accident. Whereas on the road, you can hit a tree and there's no one to help you. So, that's definitely something that I will always say to young people and young aspiring drivers is there's absolutely no need to replicate what we do on a race circuit on a real road. Yeah,
certainly not. It's like I said, it's putting yourself in danger and unfortunately some others. Yeah, exactly. It's not fair. We'll focus on the race at hand now that we can have our spirits lifted slightly, thankfully, after hearing that the two have been extracted from the cars and whatnot. Marcus Flack leading the way then. Brandon Oxley in second. But we do know that this car, it's not been confirmed by race control, but we both have eyes. And I think we can both pretty much guarantee that it's a 10-second penalty we're getting in our ear. It's going to be a 10-second penalty for Marcus Flack for jumping the start. Now, Marcus Flack's a good driver. He ain't pulling 10 seconds on Brandon Oxley.
It'll take a lot of fighting for second place for him to overcome that 10-second penalty. It's a red flag for now, by the looks. Yeah, red flag confirmed. Barrier repair, I would imagine, or at least just give the marshals plenty of time so we can get this race back underway. It should go back underway with 13 minutes and 54 seconds once we do get going once again. Is that our second red flag of the year?
Yeah, it is, because we had one, of course, in Spa. Was it the third race?
It was. David Morales' excellently large crash at the... I say excellent, it was not probably a good adjective. It was exceptionally, was what I'm going for, exceptionally large crash at Blanchimont.
He was safe, so we can give it almost whatever adjective you really want at the moment. Thankfully, having a fairly large one, but again, getting out of it absolutely fine. And
also driving very well ever since.
Yeah, and also in a nice easy car to pick out, because of course before that they were both red and white in the Ardens, whereas now it's this black white with a bit of a red bit on the side. I'm like, I appreciate that.
So now we are going into the red flag procedure. So the cars will all be stopping on this start-finish straight just ahead of where they actually go over the line. They'll hold them up there, then they'll make sure that everyone is in the correct positions for the restart. It will be not to be confirmed yet whether we'll be doing a stationary grid start or a safety car start. It'll probably be a safety car start.
It's a rolling start.
Because we were under safety car beforehand. So we'll go as you are. Marcus Flack's penalty will be applied after the race. It's not like Formula 1 where you take a pit stop and take the penalty then, because of course we do no pit stop or no mandatory pit stops in the GB3 and GB4 races. Oxley has... oh, hang on. Have they applied the penalty to...
Yeah,
looks like on the live timing they've just applied the penalty to Marcus Flack, which is interesting.
The live timing has just come through as it being the checkered flag. Again, we'll wait and see how things go. if that is the case, it would be Brandon Oxley taking the victory from Shields and from Zach Taylor, but we'll wait for confirmation of that. I think it is just a red flag, and the live timing's just gone a bit skew-if on that one, and maybe it's just for the timer to continue. But again, we're speculating like crazy in the commentary booth today. I wonder, not just for there's confirmation. There you go. It's 10-second time penalty to car 11. You can't miss that. Can you actually see that at speed?
You can, but at the same time, if it's that many words, you're not going to be reading it too much at the moment. So stuff like they'll often put safety cars up there. That's useful, and it is really good that we have more and more digi boards at the circuits we go to, because 10, 15 years ago it wasn't possible. With the technology moving on and the systems they use in race control and the stewarding, it really adds to the safety and also the ease of communication between race control and the cars on circuit, which is ultimately very important to the safety of all the drivers on circuit. And you can hear all the cars turning their engines off, because if they idle too long, they will overheat. The blinkers flashing shows that they still have their main electronics on. Let's have a look at the restart, shall we?
Yeah, so we can see there is the jump start. As easy as it is to see from Marcus Flack, that'll be the 10-second time penalty that he gathered from that. Zach Taylor going on the attack there of Keane Shields, much better, but Keane Shields did hold strong. Brandon Oxley held on to second position there. Nice little start. Brandon Oxley did what he needed to do, and to be fair, we kind of have this in sim racing. I wonder how this is in real life. If you see someone else jump the start, does it almost kind of like, wait, hang on a sec, do you almost release the clutch a little bit? Because you get kind of a bit distracted, but hang on, why is he gone?
You do definitely get that, because everyone's nerves are so high, everyone's highly strung, ready for the race, your adrenaline's pumping, everyone is trying to get the perfect bite point on the clutch, and you see it quite often. One person jumps the start, a lot of drivers around them will then jump the start, because you're basically waiting for those lights to change, and your brain almost waits for any change in visuals. And a car moving can often trigger your foot to just come off the clutch and jolt forwards. But luckily, it was only Marcus Flack from what we know at this stage.
There's Max Estes'
car.
car.
Heavily damaged rear end on Max Estes' car. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of work for the team to fix. We've got a few weeks between now and the final round, so they will be able to get that car back fixed and ready for the last round, which will be great to see Max Estes and Callum Boyson at the final round. Of course, two third place battlers for the championship.
Is it bad, or do anyone else feel really bad for the Carlin mechanics who have had to repair that car not once, not twice, but now 3 times from going off around that section of the track?
Yeah, so Callum Boyson was excellently fast. Again, excellently fast in the in the final practice session, which was on yesterday morning. He was up there and then unfortunately lost it on the exit of Westfield. He then did almost exactly the same thing, unfortunately, in qualifying, and he was looking good until the point at which he went off and everyone went faster afterwards, which is why he is now starting in 21st place. We know he has the pace. He's shown that in the practice, and then in race 1 and race 2. Race 2, he was the fastest driver on track for a lot of the race. But unfortunately, yeah, two incidents in practice in the race. So those Carlin mechanics have been working extra hard this weekend, and they'll have some more work to do. I imagine they probably will not be fixing that today. They will be taking that back to the Carlin factory in Farnham, getting that car all spruced up, brand new, ready to go for a final push on the last round of the season. It'll be interesting to see if Callum Boyson joins us again this year. For next year, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what Callum Boyson's plans are in future. He is battling for third in the championship, as you've said. Obviously, Max Estes, the driver that he crashed with there, another one that he's battling with. Max Estes a little bit further on the outside of that. It's more Tom Leben that's the issue for Callum Boyson at the moment. Someone who's been finding incredible form recently. Someone who is definitely still in this race and is very, very quick at Brands, and he's not that far clear, less than 20 points clear. And
that elite motorsport car was very fast at the Donington round we had earlier on this year, and maybe not their best circuit, because Silverstone and here have been their best ones, but they were right up there. Let's have a look at their results. So he was had a fifth in race 1 at Donington in round 7, 8th place in round 8, and then what was it? And then last time, so then 13th in race 3. So it's again pretty strong top 10 results. What about? Let's have a look comparing to you. You go through that one.
Yeah. Going through Callum Boyson, Donington, he won the first race, of course, after that contact for Yoel Granvus and Matthew Rees. 7th and 6th for Boyson, like you said, with Leben, 5th, 8th and 13th. Roberto Farrier had 2nd, 5th, and then 20th. We won't talk about that other race. But yeah,
we're looking at the very heavily damaged front left-hand corner of the Callum Boyson car. Although saying that, they did go in hard, but because they went in forwards, it looks like that Carlin car, not so much the Douglas car of Max Estes, that Carlin car of Callum Boyson, he may
actually have not actually had a huge amount of damage, because that looked like a nose box and maybe the front left side, which taken all the impact. It's more messy if you go in rearwards or sideways, because if you go in sideways, you can then do 2 suspensions, a side pod, a floor, a rear wing, maybe an airbox if you're going on the left-hand side. But if you're going forwards, you know, there's that front crash structure which can take a lot of the impact out, and then if you don't hit anything else, then the damage can actually be fairly minor from quite a large incident.
I mean, you were talking about this, I think, on the GB4 broadcast earlier on when you were down in the assembly area, about how the front of these cars, there is a crash structure in there.
Yes.
Can I tell everyone, what does that mean with it being a crash structure?
So you can see these cars. Let's look at, for example, let's take Marcus Flack at the front. You can see the part of the car that goes flat in front of the driver, and then it goes down to a sort of almost points down to the ground. Now that section is attached to the front wing as a single unit. Yeah, you here, just in front of the front wheels. If you look, there's a little seam that goes up from where the suspension joins in. That whole section comes off. So you've seen it in Formula 1. If you do watch Formula 1, if they get a damaged front wing, they can take that section off. It's attached by 4 bolts. That whole section there, that pointy down bit, is made of carbon fibre. It's hollow, and it's designed specifically in a frontal impact to crush. It's made of carbon fibre, which is a very, very strong material, and all that crushing action basically takes energy out of the crash and slows the car down in the longest time possible. Because in a crash, it's the sudden stop, it's the acceleration or deceleration of the body that is what can cause injury. And if you can slow that to lengthen the crash and make the time the car goes from being fast to stopping as long as possible, that reduces the acceleration, reduces the forces on the driver and the car, therefore giving the driver and car the best chance of reducing injury or harm. And we heard that, you know, we haven't seen yet, but we heard that Callum and Max are both out of the car, which is a great sign. They will be checked over thoroughly by the excellent medical team we have here at Brands Hatch on all MSV events, it must be said. And it looks like Marcus Flack is actually being held back, so maybe the 10-second time penalty will be being applied now. But yeah, there's loads of different crash structures on these Formula GB3 cars and the GB4 cars as well. We've got the front at the front, you've got the big rain light at the back. That is another crash structure. If you get a rear impact, the sides, they've got the side pods which have got a lot of carbon in as well. So the drivers are very much protected.
Yes, indeed. And we can see there that Brandon Oxley has taken over the front of the grid. And we'll see as they get ready to line themselves up. It's essentially going to be a new grid, courtesy of the penalty for Marcus Flack. He's been sent to the back of the grid. So Brandon Oxley is going to be starting from pole position. Kean Shields alongside. Zach Taylor, Roberto Farrier, and Nick Gilks, the top 5. Mackenzie Cresswell, Javier Segura, Alex Connor, Tommy Smith and David Morales, the top 10. And then those behind them. This is the big one for me. I'm not sure how this applies to the championship. We'll discuss this in a second. We've got Bryce Aaron, Yoel Granvus, Nico Christodoulou, John Bennett, Matthew Rees, Luke Browning, Tom Leben, Mikael Grundvig, and then Marcus Flack, as we can see a little cheeky bit of bumper cars. We've had our fair share of that. Although we haven't had a go, so we need to jump down there at some point. Yoel Granvus is now starting from 12th. Now, the... I think
1.5 points.
You know where I'm going to go.
Yeah, go on.
The points gained from the positions. But he's already gained some. Now, are the points going to be gained from the original race start, which his original starting position was 20th, or is it going to be off of this start because this is a new grid?
I believe if it's the same race, which I'm not sure because the live timing's a bit all over the place at the moment because it says that we've got 20 minutes remaining. It looks like if they're going to go with a different grid, it will be the same race. Therefore, I would imagine it will be points and position gained from your original starting position. It must be. Because if they start a new race, then of course then it'll be reset. But they're not going to start a new race because otherwise they wouldn't start with a new grid.
Yeah,
so I imagine it's the same race. So it will be positions from your starting position. So he would still be plus 5 bonus points plus the points for where he finishes.
Yeah, that's how I would assume, because I mean that is hilariously unfair if that wasn't the case, because it's kind of like, yeah, you've gained all these positions but also it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, obviously that is speculation. We'll get confirmation as to how those points are going to work. That one will be dealt with as well behind where of course you can use all forms of social media to kind of keep up to date with how things work behind the championship and when we're between rounds, because a lot does happen between rounds. That's gb-3.net, as well as heading on to social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, where you can find the GB3 Championship and GB4 Championship as well. Why not? Give that a cheeky follow and find out what's been going on behind the scenes, because, man, has that championship been close as well.
I just overheard the conversation here between... In fact, should we be listening? Oh no, stop talking. But I overheard the mechanic talk to Zach Taylor that we are looking at on the screen now, and it's going to be one green flag lap and then straight into racing. So they're just going to basically drive away, not racing from this position, follow the safety car. Safety car will go lights out. Then the driver from the front will, who is Brandon Oxley, will lead the rest of the drivers away on a rolling start for the remaining time, which is to be confirmed. Should be about 11 minutes, wasn't it, when we last stopped?
Yeah, it was
12 minutes.
I think it was 13 minutes something. We'll get that update once we're back going again, because that might have all been adjusted. We've just had it put as 14 minutes on our live timing. Now that could be from this point, as soon as they start moving, as soon as the green flag is effectively waved and the safety car leads them around, the timer will start ticking. And so we'll lose a little bit from that. Maybe it'll be around about 11 minutes 30 when we get back going again, which is still plenty of time to hit the racetrack.
Yeah, we're going to have... it looks like we've got a bit of a new official grid ready to go. Lewis, I'll let you run through that once it comes on screen.
I think we'll hold on a second to get them rolling first. This is Pierce Park getting well ahead of ourselves. We've seen a fair share of this in the commentary booth.
Excellent to see this.
There's a lot of this. I think every car has had their own bit. Carlin have got a few bits. You've obviously got this bit on the nose as well. I did see on Callum Poison's car, unfortunately, after it was brought back into the paddock area yesterday, they've got a lovely bit as well, just behind basically the side pods as well. Thanking, of course, Queen Elizabeth II for her reign. I mean, it's a hard weekend. Let's be honest. Regardless of where you are, it's an odd one. That 2-minute silence, it was breathtaking how much respect is being paid out.
Yeah, it's been really good to see that everyone's been paying respect, because there's a lot of people that have been affected. Again, another tribute there to Her Royal Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. We did that, as you mentioned, the 2-minute silence. I've just overheard 10-lap race apparently.
Interesting. Well, we'll see. We'll see if these random people are right.
It's interesting to see. We've got loads of random different things going on. Does anyone know what's going on? I think I'm sure someone does. We don't. We'll find out as they get going.
Also, I mean, to be fair, we've got. I do have a rule book in the car, but I've left it downstairs. Obviously, this is not. It's not something that's made up as we go along.
No, of course
not. Everyone from race control, all the marshals there, obviously very well educated, and they understand exactly every step of this. Most of the drivers and stuff will understand this as well. They're kind of just being reminded of it, though, a little bit.
Yes, of course. And the drivers, they're not going to be thinking, oh, yes, in section 1.4.5.7 under the red flag regulations. They'll just be thinking, right, 9X car ahead of me is, for example, looking at Connor. He's looking at the back of... I can't even tell what that is. Mackenzie Cresswell, the Chris Whitman car. He's thinking, right, where am I going to go at the start? Last time he went left, or maybe he went right. Am I going to go inside or outside? The drivers, they don't really care how long there is in the race left, as long as it's one lap. They know that when they know it's the last lap. They're going to be going hammer and tongs. They're not going to be thinking about anything other than trying to make as many positions as possible. The drivers at the back, this is Granvus has had an excellent start, going up 5. This is going to hopefully swing the championship in his eyes back in his favour. It should do, with the gap between him and Luke Browning, his championship rival, being 5 or 6 places now, plus the bonus points. So very much looking forward to seeing what goes on in the final section of this race.
Well, Richard Randall's been passing on some information. Points for positions gained will be based on the amended grid rather than on the original. The race will be restarted with over 10 laps / 14 minutes to go. More will follow. That was all just posted on Twitter, GB3 Championship. So the points gained will be based on this. So Yoel Granvus, essentially, whilst he's gained 5 positions, there's no bonus points for that. He is zeroed on that. This could actually be a big advantage for Luke Browning.
He's still got the advantage, Yoel Granvus, and those who have already made positions. The fact that they are higher up the grid, so they will get more points for their finishing position. But it's a reduced points system. So in race 1 and race 2 of the weekend, you get 35 points for a win. Race 3 is 20 points. You then gain 1 point for every position you gain in race 3. So Granvus, unfortunately, will not gain those 5 place bonus points from his first start, but he has got a better opportunity at a better finishing position in this race and can still go forward, as can Luke Browning.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, again, an interesting one. But of course, like I say, race control make all those calls. And it's kind of one of those things as a driver, it's very easy to kind of get flustered. To be fair, no one on the grid will know about that at the moment. So it's kind of just head down and get on with it. Like, you're absolutely right. There's no point as a driver kind of getting involved with those politics in the behind the scenes when your visor's down. It's kind of just visor down, focus on the race. When you see the checkered flag, stop racing. And outside of that, off you go.
Absolutely. You're just thinking about, as a driver, just doing your best, because ultimately it doesn't really make a difference what the situation is with the points and the gain points and the difference to your championship rivals. Ultimately, you're going to do your best if you go out there and try and make as many places as possible and drive as fast as possible, and that will always be your best situation and solution for the best race and points outcome from this final reverse grid race. We're just seeing that the marshals are asking the drivers to wind their cars up. You can see that the mechanics are beginning to lead the grid, so it looks like we're going to be going hopefully very, very shortly.
Tom Wallace, one of the mechanics for Roberto Farrier's car, is a Manchester United supporter, so I absolutely despise him. Just saying. I want to throw that one out on broadcast. But of course, they've all got their mechanics. Each driver, you kind of get attached to your mechanics and stuff. You know, they're kind of close, almost a bit like family on an event like this. You're around them all the time. It's why you trust when they tell you, by the way, that was not very good. you kind of trust that. You understand what's going on, and you kind of respect them a lot more.
Yeah, the team atmosphere in these teams, the guys, they're away for 8 weekends of the year, plus all the testing they do. You're away in the evenings, having dinner, breakfast together, so they really do get into a team atmosphere and, as you say, almost like a family atmosphere. And the drivers, they have to trust the mechanics and their team around them, because ultimately they are the one that puts their car together, and then they drive that car 150 miles an hour around tracks like this where there's no margin for error. So if you don't trust their skill and their knowledge in the mechanics side of things, then you're not going to be able to push yourself and your vehicle to the absolute limit.
So we are back underway. The time has not started ticking, so they're doing a formation lap. I think they will actually take to the grid, because we were talking about maybe it was going to be a rolling start. I believe it's actually going to be a standing start with 10 laps left to go in this race. So very curious to see where this will go. Very curious to see who's going to win. I mean, it's effectively, if you've had a jump start, Marcus Flack, that's going to be running through his head. I know he's starting at the back now. Marcus Flack to the back. That's going to be rolling through his head, not jumping the start again.
Flack is going to have to attack from the back to make any positions here, and he's got a long way to go. He'll be bitterly disappointed to have gone that far down, considering he had a great opportunity to start on pole. But it's all part of that learning experience. Again, his first season here in the UK and Europe racing single seaters, so he's got a lot to learn. I'll let you run through the grid, Lewis.
Well, the revised starting order: Brandon Oxley will start from pole position ahead of Kean Shields on the front row of the grid. As we roll our way through, you can see Zach Taylor and Roberto Farrier will make it up a couple of positions courtesy of Marcus Flack's issues. Nick Gilks up to 5th position, and then Mackenzie Cresswell in 6th place. As we head through, great start by the way from Cresswell. Javier Segura and Alex Connor still back towards the back end of the top 10. Not much progress made from them. We'll see Tommy Smith, I believe, in 9th position. Obviously dropping back, started the original race from 5th and now down to 9th. David Morales in 10th position with Bryce, Aaron and Joel Granvus. Big gains over the previous start from 17th to 12th. Well, I'll have to do that one again, as Nico Christodoulou will start from 13th. John Bennett from 14th position. And then we get to the championship rival of Joel Granvus, Luke Browning in 16th position, just one position behind Matthew Rees. Tom Leben, who's been one of the fastest drivers all weekend, now has a golden opportunity to go and grab some more for 3rd in the championship. He starts alongside Mikael Grundtvig and Marcus Flack in 19th. James Headley not on the start order, and of course we know that Max Esterson and Callum Voisin both definitely out of the race, unless the mechanics are very, very fast. They will be most certainly done.
You can see there's still some rubble, some gravel, some grass on the circuit at the exit of that corner, so the drivers will be making a note of that on this warm-up lap. They'll be thinking, right, I don't want to be going too wide there because that could drag me off the circuit and it could lead to another incident. We've heard the old adage that safety cars breed safety cars, so we don't want to hopefully no more incidents going forward, but it should also make for some great racing. The start of the races in this GB3 Championship are always crazy and where a lot of the action happens, so let's hope there's more action for us in this one.
I hope so. I mean, we've had a thrilling weekend across GB3 and GB4. Both have delivered a great racing. I was kind of a little bit concerned coming into this weekend to see how we were going to deal with things at Brands Hatch. We know it's a very, very tricky, very hard race circuit, and I've got to say, I think it's delivered. We've had some great racing, and I love this place. Absolutely love it.
Brands Hatch is a very special venue. It's kind of old school. I love the vibe here because it's kind of like an amphitheatre. We're currently sitting in the comms box above, looking down to the outside of Paddock Hill on the start-finish straight. We can see Paddock Hill, we can see Druids, we can see Graham Hill, and if we just peer around the corner, we can also see Surtees and pretty much the whole Indy circuit. The only bit that's out of our view is the Grand Prix loop behind the trees, which again is another unique feature of this circuit. You're driving through the trees, very old school, and a unique challenge, as many of the drivers drivers have said this weekend.
It's a great place to come as a spectator as well. My goodness, I love it. I mean, here Donington, I absolutely love them. Here, like I say, as a spectator, you stand anywhere. I promise you can see pretty much 3 corners from wherever you're standing, at least in the Indy section. I love it.
I do love it. I always like standing on the Paddock Hill grandstand. I used to come here when I was a kid, when I was about 4 or 5 years old, go up there and watch all the racing for the Indy circuit, and I still love it to this day.
Well, it's going to be a slightly shortened race, 10 laps to go, obviously, as we're going to get back underway. We'll see what happens as Brandon Oxley will start from pole position. It's Kean Shields alongside as we're about to get underway once again for round 21 of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, and it's the race down towards the first corner once again. Kean Shields with a great start. He's going to try and get to the outside. Roberto Farrier to third. There's a little bit of squeezing off as Nick Jilks was taking a very wide line down into Paddock Hill as they race down. Great start from Brandon Oxley. Kean Shields now having to defend from Roberto Farrier, who's instantly on the charge. Look at Javier Segura straight down the inside of the number 64 and Nick Jilks, who's out wide as they head through Druids and funnel their way down towards Graham Hill Bend. Javier Segura up in position. Nick Jilks down 1.
Farrier had a great start, going from 4th position immediately to 3rd and challenging for 2nd. We've got 3 wide in the background.
Yeah, Tommy Smith's got a problem. Tommy Smith's dropping back. He's going to drop to the back of the field. Unfortunately, a big moment for Tommy Smith, as we can see Luke Browning and John Bennett going side by side up through Surtees. There's going to be a bit of a drag race between them. The slipstream being picked up from Luke Browning's teammate, of course, Bryce Aaron, as they race their way up towards Hawthorns. This was where the incident was in the initial start of the race. Luke Browning up in position.
Granvus has front wing damage.
Does he really?
Look,
yes, absolutely. Big front wing damage on the left-hand side of Yoel Granvus as John Bennett loses out to Nico Christodoulou and potentially Matthew Rees as well here. Javier Segura is trying to attack Zach Taylor as they head up towards Sheen Curve.
This could be championship changing. Granvus had an excellent start in the first start, and now I haven't seen it because there's so much action going on, but Granvus has clearly made contact with another car, and you can see there, right on the left-hand side of the screen, so the right-hand end of his front wing is dragging on the ground. If the stewards see that, they might give him a mechanical flag, which he'll have to come into the pits and change that wing, because that could be dangerous. You can hear it in the comms as well.
Yeah, Bryce Aaron looking to the outside. Yeah, absolutely. You could hear it there. Just that scraping noise. That is the front wing of Yoel Granvus, driver that's battling for the championship. That's a big moment, though. The number 4 of Bryce Aaron straight into the side of David Morales. Luke Browning, bam. There's a position picked up. So that's another one for our championship leader as he closes down in on Yoel Granvus. A big moment for the championship. This certainly could be.
The high-tech cars in formation flying. Number 4 of Bryce Aaron, number 5 of Luke Browning, as we see an Arden car going at the inside there.
2 teammates.
2 teammates. Look at his teammates on teammates here at the moment. 2 high-tech cars in the grey, and then 2 Arden cars in the blackish liveries.
Yeah, it certainly is. So we're up towards Hawthorns now. John Bennett over the rear end of the number 22 of Nico Christodoulou as well. Tom Leban's not made up as much room, as much ground as I was expecting. Big defensive moment there from John Bennett. Did you see that coming up towards Westfield Bend? It's Matthew Rees in the 53 that's trying to attack him. He's all over the rear end. Oh, he's over the grass was Nico Christodoulou trying to get past his teammate David Morales.
More racing between the teammates. They'll be very careful. We've seen in the GB4 race that racing between teammates can sometimes go wrong. The Arden won't want to see any funny business there, but I'm sure that they're going to fight it out probably for the rest of this race.
This is a big moment. Look at this from you. Bang, bang, bang. You can kind of hear it just scraping across the floor. My fear is that part dislodges and comes under the wheel. That's why the mechanical, what is called a meatball flag, it's a black flag and orange. That's why it might come out. The big defence, though, is being put on because Bryce Aaron's trying to fight his way through. And between either side of that, Bryce Aaron is fighting for the championship.
Browning at the inside of Aaron. Is there going to be contact here? They're very close. They touch.
Oh my goodness me, what does Luke Browning do? There's a little bit of contact and instantly Bryce Aaron's like, right, yep, you're battling for the championship, mate, see you in a bit, have fun, I'll hold these guys back, off you go, son.
He did it 1 corner too late because the contact had already been made. I hope Luke Browning's tyre has not been affected by that. We can see Christodoulou looking again up the inside of his teammate.
Yeah, he's given it a good go a couple of times into that. A wide run from John Bennett as well, and that's Matthew Rees's invitation potentially into this fight. It's been up this end of the circuit where Matthew Rees has been very close to trying to get down the inside on the cutback between Hawthorns and West. It's gone! Yoel Granvus' front wing has absolutely gone and detonated there, and I think there might be a puncture in the background as well for Tom Leban. It really is going. That's a big moment. Luke Browning's looking to the outside of Yoel Granvus as they head down the hill at Westfield Bend. He's gone for the up and under. It's not there. You can see the front wings completely let go on the Swede's car. You can see all the smoke. Someone has gone off there. I don't think it was a big moment though.
Someone just dropped a wheel on the grass and threw out some dust. Granvus is still defending valiantly, maybe thinking, my front wing's gone, but I'm still going to try and make Luke Browning's life a bit more difficult. difficult today because I don't want to lose that position.
I think Tom Leben has got a puncture from the front wing bits that's come off because he did drop off the rear enders. Nico Christodoulou, wow, was he looking aggressive on the rear end of Bryce Aaron. This is a big moment though. Luke Browning to the outside. This could be it. He's getting to there, up towards Paddock Hill Bend. He's going to look back to the inside. A big lock up there, and it is done. The big swing happens, and Yoel Granvus is dropping backwards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions to the back of this train. A big moment though as Matthew Rees sends it in on the inside of one of the Arden machines of David Morales. But wow, what a swing in the championship.
In this melee, Rees has got past John Bennett as well, and of course Granvus was now dropping like a stone with no front wing. You can see him going wide again, but Rees has got past Bennett, showing that he's got some great moves going around here, showing the moves he showed earlier on as well.
My heart goes out to him. That is going to be a tough moment. Do you even know it? Would he know there was front wing damage before it went?
He may have known or may not have known that he's had contact on the lap 1 of the second start, which had caused the wing to damage. But once it starts dragging, you can often hear it, which is it's scraping on the ground. So he may have known, and he will have, as soon as he felt this car starting to understeer when he was on his own, he would have been thinking, no, I don't want my front wing to go, because he knows that's pretty much, as soon as that front wing goes, it's effectively race over in terms of points.
Just saw Tom Leben in the pit lane there as expected. I think the debris might have broken the front wing. How wide was Roberto Farrier there? He is desperate for a race victory now as he starts to close his way in on Cian Shields, on Brandon Oxley. He's dragging. Zach Taylor's looking really quick right now because he's keeping up and has just set the fastest lap of the race, that number 21.
Zach Taylor's pushing on hard. We saw him slightly miss the apex at turn 1 after the fastest lap of the race, so he's clearly still pushing and trying to extract some lap time and get onto the back of that the podium positions. He wants a podium in this final race season. Luke Browning is now on his own. He's going to be happy with that. He doesn't want any more drama because I could have quite easily seen that Granvus and Browning come together there, but they both drove quite maturely to get past each other and without any issue.
Yeah, got to say, for Roberto Farrier, he's again, most experienced driver on the grid. He's done 3 seasons, or 2.5 seasons in GB3. He's looking for just his second victory. He's had a lot of podiums, I've got to say, but he's looking for his second victory. He took a victory in Spa, in the 3rd race of Spa last year, when he was driving for Ford Tech, but now looking for his first victory of the season. Started out the season great, Alton Park having a double podium. There is Luke Browning. He's going to be feeling very good about the championship. Now there is Brandon Oxley, your race lead. A bit of a moment there, though, coming onto the final short shoot down towards the last corner as we're halfway through this slightly shortened race. That number 68 still in control.
Yeah, pushing on. Brandon Oxley trying to keep that gap to a distance where he won't be having to defend from Cian Shields in that silver high-tech car, number 6. I think Browning will be very, very happy with this race because he's now inside the top 10 from, again, the back of the grid pretty much.
I mean, I wonder if the Silverstone, where he had to start from the back, I wonder if that taught him a few things about rising up in order, because he did very well there. I know obviously it was a much wider circuit, but I wonder if he's kind of picked up on a few things and maybe a few tricks that Yoel Granvus was using to march his way up and has used it to push him forward even on a round like this.
Yeah, maybe he listened to our interview with Callum Boyson as well in race 1, because Callum Boyson said you just get some good exits, make sure that you're driving tidy, and eventually people will make mistakes, and if you've got the pace then you can glide past them. He's doing excellently. He's got quite a way to get to the next car though. He's got over a 4-second gap to Alex Connor in the Arden car, so potentially maybe no more gains on track, maybe if anyone has any issues ahead, but the race seems to have settled down somewhat for now, which has been a very, very action-packed race from start to finish already. Brandon Oxley looking pretty comfortable at the moment, using all the road there, clearly at one with that car. I think he wasn't happy with how qualifying went. The Christman guys as a whole didn't quite get the laps they wanted in. They mentioned, we spoke to Mackenzie Cresswell before this race, and he said, it's just traffic caught me out on one of my good laps, and that could have, it's one of those shoulda, coulda, woulda. You just need the qualifying to go your way, because that makes your weekend so much easier, especially on circuits like this.
Well, all 3 of the CDR cars are running in the top 10. We can see in the lower third here, just at the bottom, race control message. The start will be investigated after the race. So they'll deal with that post-race, where you can catch all of it on gb-3.net, or also on the GB3 Championship social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, of course, Instagram as well, where we'll be able to update you post-race as to what's been going on. I'm sure there'll be plenty at play post-race. I did just hear a little bit of sparking and stuff, maybe even a bit of gravel entry, I don't know.
Potentially cars bottoming out at the bottom of Paddock Hill either, or on the curbs, but we were just looking at Luke Browning setting the fastest lap of the race there. He's clearly on a mission. He's been one of the fastest drivers this weekend, and he just consistently performs, doesn't he? And that's why him and Granvus are right up there in the championship. Again,
another amazing drive from Luke Browning, and he came into this round not as a championship leader. Ooh. Wow, was that a moment from Roberto Farrier. Wow, we'll focus on this. Brandon Oxley, by the way, who's not had a win this season. He's had 2 podiums. He's finished 3rd and 2nd, of course, with a great drive to 3rd in the first race of Spa. He does have to. He's not just a reverse grid kind of guy. He's shown in race 1s, race 2s that he's certainly got the speed, as to be fair have most of the grid at some point this season, and like you say, he's looking so good. And the CDR cars, he's going to be a hard driver to pass if he doesn't make a mistake.
Well, he's had 5 top 10 finishes in race 1s and race 2s this year, which has been an excellent showing that he's got some really good pace, and he's struggled to break into the top 5 though, with only that 5th place at the 3rd race at Alton Park to his name this year. So showing that he's got some experience in this race, but maybe qualifying is not always quite gone his way. You can see Farrier pushing very hard there, running 2 wheels over the exit at the curb. They'll have to be careful, because if you run wide too many times, and there are sensors that can sense when you've gone wide at the exit of Graham Hill and Paddock Hill Bend. If you run wide too many times, the stewards can potentially give you a penalty, so watch out for that later in the race potentially.
Yeah, it certainly played its part in qualifying. Even in GB4, Logan Hannah was actually talking about she had a couple of incidents where she went wide, and like I said, you can't really argue with a photograph. It tells you, 1,000 times what's gone on, and like I say, you've got to be careful with taking it once or twice in the race. Fair enough. Once you start doing it more than that, race control will intervene to some degree, and like I say, you can't take the mick too much. The
race circuit is denoted by the white lines and the curbs. Anything more, Jonathan Palmer will rather you stayed inside the circuit, because of course it's not safe, and also can wear the circuits away. So there's the rules in place for that, which means that everyone's working to the same rules. So therefore, if someone's running wide and everyone else isn't, then they should be penalised.
Well, Roberto Farrier is very close now for 2nd position. He's right on the rear end of Kean Shields. Just a couple of laps left to go in this race. There's a little... I thought he was going for it. Trying to fill the mirrors of Kean Shields, who's had a race victory this season, of course. And Roberto Farrier is staring at yet another podium, but he wants more.
He definitely wants more. He's thinking, all right, 2nd place is on the cards here. He knows Kean is one of the least experienced drivers on the grid, having done a lot in karting, but not so much in car racing. This is his 1st season, stepping straight up into Formula 3. Granvus eventually having to come into the pits for the front wing change. He'll be bitterly disappointed with that, but Farrier pushing on hard to try and force a mistake out of Kean Shields there in that high-tech car, number 6.
Big shame. Obviously still going to stay out on the track, try and see if they can gain any points from anyone dropping off, but points in this race are only dished out to the top 15. I think that one might be a little bit too far. Luke Browning taking over 9th position, and not only that, gaining from his race start. Of course, again, the points will be given out based on the amended grid start. They're struggling to get that front wing off as well. Wow, what a race for them.
He's only going to have one more lap as well, so it's not a huge amount he's going to be able to do about his position now, and he's actually going to end up going a lap down by the looks of it, which is really, really disappointing, because we want to see that championship fight as close as possible for everyone at home watching, and also for everyone at the circuit, because we've got a really big crowd here today.
Yeah, we'll see, because he was very fast at Donington Park. This championship is not over, because at Donington he did have a pole position. So I'd kind of suspect that we might see some more from Yoel Granvus. As you can see him there leaving the pit lane to start his final lap of the race, but he will be a lap down, unfortunately. Brandon Oxley continues to lead by 1.2 seconds over Kean Shields and Roberto Farrier.
Roberto Farrier was pushing on hard to put some pressure on Shields, but unfortunately forced a mistake out of himself. That last lap was 1 minute 20.8, 8 tenths slower than the front 2. Oxley setting some very, very fast times here. A 1:19.9, that's probably the fastest lap he has done this weekend. Although the fastest lap of the race at the moment still stands with Luke Browning on a 1:19.6. Almost 3 tenths clear of anyone else. The only 2 drivers who have done a 1 minute 19 this race are Oxley in first with a 19.90. Luke Browning fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 19.6, and no one else in the 20s, and in the 19s, sorry. So those 2 drivers are the class of the field in this race.
Well, final corner then, and it's going to be Brandon Oxley. It was your pick for the race. You didn't give him the commentator's curse. He comes out of the final corner, and the 68 for Chris Dittman Racing will take his first victory in the GB3 Championship in this shortened 3rd race of the weekend. It is all about Brandon Oxley. Kean Shields fought valiantly to hang on to 2nd place, and Roberto Farrier will come across the podium and reignite his hopes of 3rd in the championship. But when it comes to the title race, Luke Browning has taken a massive step today after issues for Yoel Granvus. This is a big, big day for the Cheshire lad.
Wow, that's extended the championship quite considerably. I mean, I can't, off the top of my head, work out the points right now, but it will be quite a margin going into the final round of the season. Luke said that was his aim going at this round, was to try and leave today and go into the final 3 races of the season with as much of a margin as possible, and he has done everything he can to do that.
Well, he certainly will pull out a large margin, because I think the old Granvus will score a solid goose egg in this race and no points. So it's whatever Luke Browning. I'll try and work it out, because I've got to work out what the adjusted points position gained. But I'll try and update you when we get to the podium as to what that will be once we actually get to chat to Brandon Oxley as well. I mean, that'd be great. I mean, we've had a couple of chats with him this season, of course, as a couple of time podium sitter, but as a race winner, there's a different spark about that. I mean, you know that feeling.
He'll be very, very happy with that. Getting a race win is always the best. That's what we strive for as racing drivers. So he'll be very happy with that. Lewis, I'll let you chat through the results if we have them, and I'm going to go head down to the podium.
Yes, no worries. Cheers to Piers. Oh, I said Piers. Wow, well done. Brandon Oxley will take the victory then ahead of Cian Shields and Roberto Farrier. Zach Taylor in 4th position with Javier Segura. Nick Gilks dropped back a position on the race start down to 6th place, but still showed some very good pace whilst he was on the attack of Javier Segura for most of that race. Mackenzie Cresswell's all over the rear and just 3/10 off across the line from Gilks. Then Alex Connor, Luke Browning and Bryce Aaron. We'll say Bryce Aaron did a solid job for the team to jump out of the way of Luke Browning there. A very important moment in the championship this could potentially be, and every single little point that is made up, well, that could be very big indeed, especially as he was trying to attack Yoel Granvus. There he is, straight out of the car, the big man himself. What a drive from Brandon Oxley. We've had a couple of chats with him. I remember the chat that we had with him before the... I say we had. It was actually Richard Randall that had the chat with him before the race 2 at Spa, actually. Very smart head and shoulders. You know, he's very mature for his age. He's showing, despite a lack of knowledge in a race car, you know, not done too much car racing before, but showing a really good, really mature head, understanding the situation he's in. He knows he's not battling for the championship, but he is battling for something very special indeed, including this race win, where John Jackson can have a little bit of a chat with him.
Thank you very much, Lewis McGlade. It's very sunny down here in the pits. I'm loving this now. An interesting race there, and we got a bit of bonus Piers Pryor and Lewis McGlade with that little stop there, but I'm sure everyone was absolutely loving it, and I can just see Brandon Oxley and his team and his fans, and I think his driver's coach they're very smartly dressed man there on the right. I mean, just absolutely loving this. A maiden victory for Brandon Oxley. We're going to grab a word with him in just a second as we just see him getting himself ready, getting the customary photos. Got to make sure you get that photo in front of the first board. You've got to share that on your Instagram later on. A great drive from Brandon, and we were discussing before during that break there between everyone in the office watching this with MSV and Richard Randall. He predicted a Brandon Oxley win, so well done to him. I was saying that Roberto Farrier would get there, but 3rd place for him. I think he's almost ready to have a chat with me. Are we ready? I'll jump in. Hey Brandon, your first win, how are you feeling?
Whoa, just recovering. That was a long 10 laps, but I pushed every lap. Yeah, I mean, it's not been the best of weekend, but nice to end like this.
Absolutely, it is. Did the stop in the race there and having to sit for so long on the track, did that put you off at all, or did you remain focused throughout?
I remained focused. I mean, my car was about to set on fire because it was so bloody hot. but no, it was, yeah. No, it didn't put me out of focus. I knew that Flack had a penalty. He left the line, but yeah. Whoa.
I was going to say, so we've got a lot of people with you. There's a very smartly dressed gentleman behind you. Is he your driver's coach? I mean, what's his relation to you?
Yeah, he's my driver coach, Ramon. He's been helping me since last year. Yeah,
He was very, very pleased for you. I noticed there's a couple of girls with you as well. Lots of people supporting you, and I know a lot of people supporting you in Thailand as well. So every time someone who has got friends and family in a different country, I give them the opportunity to say thanks for the support down to the camera there. And I think after you just won, it's a good time to do it.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone who stood by my side. But this win is for everyone, and it's not the win I wanted, but it's a win. I'll take it.
Hey, look, you can't knock a win. Brandon Oxley, congratulations. I'll let you go and celebrate with all the people that are here supporting you. What an excellent drive. And you've got to remember, with these drivers just sat on the track for so long while that barrier was repaired, there's a lot going through their minds. Let's go and chat to Cian Shields over here. And we did see Cian win at the first time we were at Silverstone. So he's been on the podium before. Going to come over. Have you got a moment? Cian, congratulations, second place. We've seen you on the podium before at Silverstone, and nice to be back there.
Yeah, it's really good. We struggled a bit this weekend for pace, but not happy we got here for the last race of the weekend.
Now, we discussed before, you know, like this time last year, you were still doing karting, and you know how much you've come on since even we last spoke at Silverstone's been great. And you know, how are you feeling about your progress?
Yeah, I think it's going really good. Every time we get in the car, we're going better and better, and I'm really looking forward to the last round at Donington, see what we can do, because I feel like the pace is just getting better and better, and hopefully we'll be up there.
What do you think, another podium at Donington?
And that's the aim, hopefully.
Excellent stuff. Cian Shields, I'll let you go and celebrate with everyone. Cian Shields from High Tech, doing very, very well there. Now, where is my man? Here he is, Roberto Farrier. Hey, Roberto. I was just saying before the race, it's a shame we haven't seen you a little bit faster in the pace. And we were used to seeing you on the podium, but you're back here in third place. How was that race for you?
Yeah, we had a couple of problems in qualifying. We weren't really fast, so I had to start from the back. We did some good overtakes in the other race, and this one was the same. Coming from 7th to podium, so it was quite a good start for me before and after the red flag. But it's really hard track to overtake. I was putting pressure on Shields during the whole race, but he was in the toe of Oxley, and then it was just really hard to do anything behind him. A couple of laps I was really close to him in the first corner, but it was just really hard to overtake.
Yeah, it's a very tough track to overtake. And what's the feeling at the Carlin team this weekend? How do you feel it's gone?
Yeah, it was not as we expected. We didn't have the pace. During the free practice yesterday, I actually had a gearbox issue. I had some problems with changing gears, so I didn't do any lap in the track. I went straight to quali because on Friday we were in the Brand's engine, and then now we were in Brand's GP, so I didn't have any fuel for the car, so I think that's also compromised a bit the weekend. But yeah, this last race was saved a bit us, some couple of points, and the guys who we were fighting the championship actually had not good results, so good points for us.
Absolutely, and finally I always give you the opportunity to say hi to everyone who supports you back home in Brazil.
Olá a todo mundo que está me dando suporte, muito obrigado a todo mundo que está acompanhando no Twitch, no YouTube, então é um prazer e obrigado pela torcida.
Roberto, obrigado. I'll let you go and take the podium. Roberto Farrier coming third there. There's a lot for us to discuss straight after the podium. We're going to need to talk about Joel Granvus. We need to talk about Luke Browning. Piers will be back here joining me after Lewis McGlade talks you through the podium.
Indeed, it is a big moment in the championship. I do have some update points, very provisional, because they're done by my maths. And I do always say never trust a commentator's maths. But Luke Browning will hold a 15.5 point lead in the championship after this race. Joel Granvus scoring no points, 9th place from a 16th place start for Luke Browning. A couple of pictures being taken for Brandon Oxley. We'll give him his moment in due course. Of course, he'll be up onto the podium taking the top step in fantastic fashion for the first time in his GB3 career. He's done a season and a half, it must be said. You know, we've said before with Roberto Farrier doing 2.5 seasons because of where he joined the championship. Brandon Oxley made his debut in the season. A couple of hugs as well on his way up to the podium. Of course, yeah. Take your moment. You got to take your time with it and enjoy it. He started at Snetterton, as now he gets guided by the excellent security that we have here in Richard Randall, of course, trying to get everyone out of the way to make sure that Brandon Oxley can work his way. Of course, I am joking though that of course Richard Randall is definitely not the security. He would certainly need to be better on that front. But Brandon Oxley started with a 5th place finish at Snetterton, his first ever race last year in 2021 for Christopher Racing. At that point, it's kind of like looking at his shots thinking, maybe he started out really, really strong and then dropped off, because that ended up being his best result until the final round of the season where he finished in 4th in the first race at Donington Park. Kind of struggled on and off this season, certainly struggled with consistency this season, but as he tries to march his way up in the championship, a race victory certainly will help with that. And I said before about the renewed hopes for Roberto Farrier on his battle for 3rd in the championship. Well, his 6th podium this season will certainly help in that in that front. It's his 2nd, 3rd place finish, and he's finished 2nd 4 times outside of that. But as we end things here at Brands Hatch, Roberto Farrier, the Brazilian, He actually ends just 6.5 points off of Callum Boysen, who still hangs on to third position. There he is, Roberto Farrier, his teammate not far ahead in the championship. He'll be desperate to go and grab that third place finish, taking yet another podium in his very successful career. Cian Shields back onto the podium for the first time since that race victory in Silverstone in round 6 of the season. It's been a long time since we've seen him on the podium. And then our race winner. We've had another new one. Of course, we had Matthew Rees at the start of the weekend, and we bookend the weekend with yet another new winner in Brandon Oxley. And what a fantastic drive it was. It's his third podium of the season. It's actually his first top 10 finish since the first race at Spa. He's had a bit of a struggle of an affair over the last few rounds, trying to get himself back inside the top 10. Maybe a little bit of pace missing, and you can see Matthew Rees joining him on the podium after setting the fastest lap of the race weekend, and so a super effort. Whilst we see them march off the podium, I think it's about time that we potentially take a look at some highlights of a very crazy third race of the weekend. Leading us off the initial start, it was Marcus Flack with a very big jump start, which would give him a 10-second time penalty, and you can see Brandon Oxley taking over the race lead. This big moment though on the first lap, contact between Max Esserton and Callum Boysen. Thankfully, both of them were out of the car. A red flag would come out so the marshals could basically repair all the damaged barriers and stuff. As we got back going again, Marcus Flack was given a back of the grid drop essentially after that jump start, and racing was back underway at Brands Hatch. We had a tight fight for the race lead, Brandon Oxley hanging on to it, and then a tight fight here. David Morales into the side of Bryce Aaron, who was deep going down into Druids, and Bryce Aaron would then eventually drop back behind Luke Browning. A big moment for our championship leader coming into Brands Hatch. Of course, Jarl Granvus breaking his front wing and now dropping right to the back of the order after coming to the pit lane. Big moments for Roberto Farrier as he was trying to set fastest lap after fastest lap, catching the top 2. But Brandon Oxley was the big man today. He'd cross over the line as the victor, just ahead of Cian Shields, and Roberto Farrier will now head down to John Jackson.
Thank you very much, Lewis. We're here with the cars in Parc Fermé. I just want to come and chat to this man. Sorry, I didn't catch your name when I was chatting to Brandon.
Yeah, I'm Ramon Piñeiro.
And you're his driving coach?
Well, yeah, look, I kind of look after him. I actually won here in Formula 2 and FIA back in 2011, so it's very nice to have Brandon here, and yeah, I'm just looking after him in the best way I can.
Mm-hmm. And in you know, he's come on really well, and obviously this is his first win, and we've seen him, you know, get used to the car and do really well in this series so far. I mean, what's the next step for him?
Well, we'll see. I think we have different options on the table. We'll see what we do next year. Important is the progression of his driving is moving forward, and that's our main priority. You know, on my side, as long as the basics are in the right point, then everything is achievable.
Now, Brandon is someone I see doing a lot of fitness work and nutrition, and I know he posted actually a video on his social media a little while ago about how seriously he takes that, and that is, you know, as well as being able to drive the car, also being able to keep yourself, I think he said maybe like 70 kilograms, was it? Is his optimum weight. It's very important. It's a side that we don't often see much of.
Brandon has a constitution which is very muscular itself, so obviously you need to keep the weight down in terms of for the performance of the car, because the driver car weight limit. So we have to look after him, because if not, he just puts on muscle very easily. So that's why he takes it so seriously, and why it's so important for us to look after him.
Yeah, he's a very active guy. Thank you very much for chatting to me, and best of luck with Brandon going forwards, Ramon. Great to chat to Ramon there. In fact, let's chat. I mentioned Brandon's girls. Guys, you're with Brandon, right?
Yeah, we're with Brandon at the
And
moment.
you're like his cheerleaders or what?
I've known him for a few years, so we're basically family at this rate.
Amazing, and I've seen you all around today, and you've been having a great day, and it was fantastic to see him win there.
Yes, definitely. I can't be any prouder of him, for sure.
Excellent stuff. And you know, like, what do you think Brandon can achieve in this sport? I'll ask you, because I've not asked you a question yet.
I mean, I think he can go really far. Like, today's just shown how resilient he can be.
Great, well that's nice to know that you're here to support, and I hope you've enjoyed your day. Me and Piers have got to do some work now, so thanks for chatting to me. Piers, thanks for rushing down there. Now, it's been an amazing race there, because there was such a long pause, and you know, I can imagine as a driver sitting on the track there while that barrier's being repaired. I mean, what's going through their minds?
They're thinking about so much. They're thinking about, right, so how did the last start go? Did it go well? Did I not go so well? Where am I starting now? Because they're starting in different positions often. Yeah. With the red flag, we saw some drivers starting further up and some further back, especially with this grid. You can see how undulating it is in the background, and they'll be thinking, right, I went outside last time, did that work? Should I go inside? Who's around me? Where are they going to go? There's a lot going on
But it's all about trying to maximise the next start. You're always thinking ahead, trying to make the best of the next opportunity as a driver. And these drivers, they're learning about doing that as much as they can. They've learned in the previous formulas and their karting that they've done. There's a lot of racecraft that goes into the starts of the race, and that's an opportunity. We mentioned it so many times, but especially in these GB3 cars, the opportunity to gain 2, 3, 4 positions on a lap is probably only at the start after a standing start.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's been great to see the guys that we have on the podium here, but we need to talk about the championship picture. Now, I'm not going to try and work out the points, because drivers get points for the amount of places they've made up, and obviously there's so many things in this reverse grid race. But what we can say is that Luke Browning has extended his championship lead, not only with some excellent driving there and making up those places, but also, and we've got to move out of the way of these cars, so let's move over here, but also, Piers, with Yoel having that incident where the front of his car was knocked off, and, you know, absolutely put it into Luke's favour.
Yeah, of course. We didn't see actually what happened, and maybe we'll hear about that later on, but Joel Granvus, our championship leader coming into this whole round, unfortunately had an incident. Just a small touch in his front wing meant that it just cracked the wing and fell down, and then over the race deteriorated, rubbing on the ground. So really strange. Watch your back, Ben. Sorry, I don't want to get run over. Yeah, so that was really unfortunate. And all it takes is a small touch, and with all the cars bunching up at turn 1 and into the at turn 1 in the first lap, so easily done. And Joel will be bitterly disappointed that he couldn't salvage as many points from that race as he potentially deserved, because his first start was excellent. He made 5 positions, the most of any of the front runners. He was up near the top 10. He was looking to extend that gap to Luke Browning, and it shows how fine the margins are. You know, if we hadn't had that red flag, we could be looking at a Granvus leading in going into the final round of the season, but nope, Luke Browning it is. But still shows that in one race so much can change, and we've still got 3 more to go this season.
We have indeed, and when we spoke to Luke after that second race, he said he wanted to go into the final weekend at Donington leading. He didn't want to be chasing, and I mean, that is how he's going to go into that final race weekend at Donington. If you are Yoel now, I mean, is it all or nothing, or do you just get that first race out of the way, see how that goes, and maybe the second and third of the races where you're absolutely throwing everything at it?
I reckon they're still taking one race at a time. They all know that all it takes is one error to make or break their championship, or one position, or one moment, one decision. It's all such fine margins, especially when your competitor, both Luke and Joel, have been so consistent in qualifying. I don't think any of them have qualified outside the top 5 or 6 in any of the rounds, and they're just literally smashing in results. So they need to consistently do that, beat each other, but also worry about a lot of the fast drivers who are coming on towards the end of the season. Tom Leben, fastest this round. Matthew Rees with a win this round as well, so they're going to be in the mix as well, and potentially getting involved in that championship fight.
Now, I mean, that was bitterly bad luck for Yoel, because you know, having that incident, and in fact there was a guy that was watching behind me, and he was very, very quiet. He speaks really deep, and you know, he's more of a growl. He's a real growler, and he leapt out of his chair and leapt out a scream of like, oh, what is going on? And look, we've seen some really exciting racing this weekend. We've got to finish by talking about Matthew Rees. Obviously won a race this weekend, and also is the fastest driver.
He is. The Sunoco fastest driver of the weekend is Matthew Rees, and I can't remember if it was race 1 or race 2, but it's at the fastest lap time of all of the races, with a 19.2, I believe. Luke Browning got close to it in one of the races with the 19.4, and then also the fastest driver in that last race, 19.6. So it must have been race 1 then, actually. It must have been race 1 that Matthew Rees at the fastest lap of the weekend. So yeah, very well done to him. Shows the pace and how much he's come on, and he was so close in qualifying, second in one, and second fastest in for the first race, and second fastest for the second race. But found some pace and some consistency, and also brought those results home with a few podiums this weekend. So Matthew Rees will be very happy as well.
Would he be your driver of the weekend if I had to push you, Piers? I mean, it's a tough choice, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say Matthew Rees has probably got to be our driver of the weekend. He's shown a lot of maturity. He's come on a lot as a driver. He's shown some excellent pace. 2 podiums. Tom Leben's a notable mention, but he didn't quite make as many places up in the final race either. Again, it's hard to overtake around here, and often it depends on how the racing falls and how the cars fall around you. But yeah, my driver of the weekend, Matthew Rees, but also again Luke Browning, retaking the lead in the championship, extending his lead in the final race. So probably between one of those 2.
Very, very cool. One thing I will say before we end this broadcast is that when you win a race, you know, it's not like a valet service, this, is it? You know, Brandon's won the race, he's celebrated with everyone, all the other cars have gone, and he's just returned now because he's got to get his car back to the garage. You know, I mean, Piers, prior, when you were racing in this division, I imagine you had someone that would take your car back to the garage for you?
Absolutely not. No, I had to drive it myself,
to be
as
honest,
everyone else does.
When you win your first race, I imagine if you're not having to move on very, very quickly for the Parc Fermi area, you know, you're going to stay and enjoy it, aren't you?
As much as you can. You know, wins, especially in motorsport, can often be
infrequent because there's so many good drivers around, so you make the most of it. Try and make that nice feeling last as long as possible.
Excellent. Well, that's it for the GB3 Championship this weekend. We do have one more race in the GB4 Championship. Now, with that delay, I'm not entirely sure when it starts. Feel free if anyone wants to shout in my ear when it starts, if we have a revised time yet. It's one of those things when things are delayed, when barriers have to be repaired, that we don't know when it's going to be on. What I would say, as Brandon Oxley drives off very, very loud, the race will start at 5:30, so we'll be live just before that, maybe 5:15, 5:20. So make sure you're just following all the social media channels. The GB3 Championship, if you want to recap everything's happened here, that's where Luke Browning's lead will be published a little bit later on once they've worked out the results. And obviously the GB4 Championship, just to make sure that that start time is exactly when it is, and you'll know when we're live. And also you can preview that race. There's a great preview there that Richard Randall's written going into the final race of the weekend, which is the GB4 reverse grid race coming up at around about 5:20.